What is happening, mediocre people of YouTube? Look at that. And the carvin's getting a new look. Yeah, looks like a fucking bomb went off here. Everything's a mess. But what we're here to talk about today.
When I was a young, hairy whippersnapper, hairier than I am now, it was all about big valve heads. Bigger was definitely better.
Okay. And
entitled The End of an Era and the Worrying Conclusion, in which he lays out a very good case for, a lot of the new technologies that are replacing.
So this is in response to the Guitologist and Rob Chapman's video, sort of. I myself recently did a video not too long ago about why music sucks so bad. And I was actually, before Rob and Brad's video came out, I was actually going to do another video because I wanted to talk about, I wanted to kind of add to, why music sucks so fucking bad these days, okay? Because it does. There's no question. And what had happened is I was enjoying a few days. Let me find my coffee. I was enjoying a few days of downtime at the lake and over Thanksgiving, and I had a song idea in my head. And sometimes, well, a lot of times when I get a song idea in my head, I can hear it all the way through. A lot of times with me it starts with a guitar riff or something, but I can hear that song idea all the way through, and that's what, you have to write it down because it'll be gone. But then as I'm hearing this song through this idea, the idea starts and it just starts rolling through my head. In my head, it starts to turn into this over-processed piece of shit. And that's why music sucks so bad today, because that shit's fucking contagious, man. You know what I'm saying? And it has a lot to do with what inspires you to write music. Sometimes I can be in a quiet room and have a song idea. A lot of times, it's usually when I have a song idea, it's when I've got a 100-watt head and a 4x12 cabinet going. That's when seems like my creativity goes up the most, is when I'm, half deaf, just jamming out. When I'm jamming out on my little Boss Katana amp, which is fantastic for lower volumes, like I've said a million times, I can get my sound and not have to wake up your neighbors, whatever state you're living in. It is really great, but it does not bring out the creativity like when I'm playing through a 100-watt head 4x12 cabinet. And, there's a part of you have to get out of that comfort zone. They say that, you have to go through a lot of pain to write hit songs and music, and I think that's true. Not that I've ever wrote any hits, but I've certainly recorded my share of music and spent my share of time in the studios and different situations like that, as well as at home and in bands and live situations and everything like that. And still to this day, there's nothing like, for me, when you have a few guys jamming together, drums, bass, vocals, and a guitar player, or whatever you have, 5, 6, 10-piece band. When you've got 4 or 5 guys and everything's clicking and the magic is happening, that's why I always say the magic, because when the magic starts happening, man, everybody just seems to click off each other. Like, exactly what this guy's going to do, and he knows exactly what you're going to do before you even do it. And that's the magic, or maybe you're just rehearsing your songs and all of a sudden they just start coming together. It's the same thing. And that magic is what's missing from today's music and from the music from the last 20 years, or more even. And I know every generation goes through, oh, the music isn't like it used to be. Now it's just terrible. But it really is terrible now. Everything is just way over processed. Everybody is, sending tracks to each other and mixing it somewhere else. Nobody's sitting in a room with a live drum set and a live guitar and bass and vocals, and you just have what you have in your jam. And nobody's doing that anymore. And that's taking away a lot of inspiration, a lot of talent. I really believe that is just muting that talent down to nothing. Muting that magic, that inspiration, it's muting it down into nothing. And that's why music sucks. I just showed you guys this this board that I got. Am I a cork sniffer? No. I know it's really so much easier just to plug it into the computer and mix. But I got this Yamaha board for next to nothing. It's a 24 channel board, and it's really cool. I don't know if I'll record something through it at some point once I get it going. I know everything works. Everything's a mess right now. I decided to recover this cabinet. This is for my Carvin X100B, and I did the front in cream like that. And I think it's gonna be really cool once it's all done. I'm waiting on a Carvin logo. Where's it at? Carvin sent me the wrong logo. I gotta send it back to them. But yeah, that's it, man. You crank that up, and that's where inspiration comes from. That's where ideas come from. When you're dialed up to 10. I got into electronics. I got into building amplifiers. This little amplifier just fucking jams, man. It's loud for what it is. I think it's 20 watts or whatever. And this stuff that, you got to take some time to put together. You got to take some time to hook it up, and then you get that feeling of, everybody comes over or whatever, or you're playing in your rehearsal room, whatever you might have had going on that's not going on today. I was just across the street from a place, used to do storage units. Everybody had a band and people would rent storage units. And I remember I just went by the place today. At any given time, there was probably 50 or 100 bands in there. I drove by there today, opened my window to listen to see if there's anything going on. There's nothing. It's completely silent. That owner of that place, same owner, and he encouraged bands to come in. It was a place to rehearse. There were several locations in the Detroit area where you could do that. There's one or two locations now. They're extremely overpriced and they're booked. Basically people are renting these places as if they would rent an apartment, and it's a rehearsal room. Very cool, very nice, way too expensive. When we rented storage units, I think maybe we paid, God, back then, maybe $50 a month or something for a 10 by 20. And we had, at one point, had a, what would it be, 20 by 40, and we really had a setup there. And we would go for either rehearsal or just, band practice, we called it. And, sometimes we go through the songs we were playing, and then, other times we'd go through something new. And, my guitar playing right now is always something new, as much as I enjoy these other things. When I'm playing guitar, I'm coming up with something new. I'm actually thinking about getting into a band. I'd love to get into get some guys together just to have fun and do that. I think that would be great. Again, we're getting to this place where you look at what Ed Dana's doing, okay? And he's got the guy with a little electric drum set, which for what he's doing is great. And for what he's doing, he's probably not even allowed to bring in a live drum kit, The casino started with that, and more, they don't want you bringing anything, They bring your instrument, and you're basically plugging into the PA, plugging into your computer and then into the PA system. And they just have what they have, and that's it. Like I said, going back to what I was just saying, it started with casinos. and other venues when they started putting the plexiglass in front of the drum kit, which just makes it sound like shit. Um, Again, I went to a concert not long ago, and it was cool, but it was just stupid, man. I mean, when I used to leave a concert, it was you were half deaf when you left the concert. It was a party. It was fun. It was, you know, mosh pits, and it was great. The years I went to Ozfest and all those different bands that I saw. The year that Korn came out, and it was actually Korn replaced. It was supposed to be Silverchair, Deftones, and Ozzy, and it ended up Silvertone or whatever their name was dropped out, and Korn came in and played. So it was the Deftones, Korn, and Ozzy, and Korn was like pretty much unknown, and they were fucking awesome, man. It was God, I don't even know what year. It had to be in the late '90s or mid '90s, whenever Korn came out. Um, they were great, and then all of a sudden, boom! They hit like a couple weeks later is when they started. They really hit the big time. They hit the radio and everything. And now I'm not a big fan of those guys personally and their personal beliefs and stuff like that, but it doesn't matter. Their music was fucking awesome back then. I don't know whether it is now or not. I haven't listened to even my most favorite artists. I haven't listened to anything they've done in the last 10 years because it's just a disappointment. And and I think that goes for society as a whole, is where everybody's just getting muted into this do as you're told. Charlie LaDuff just said recently on his podcast, the Democrats of the 90s were, and he played that clip from Rage Against the Machine, fuck you, I won't do what they told me. And he goes, now the Democrats now are, fuck you, do as you're told. He recently said in a podcast, his daughter asked him if he was a conservative. And he said, look, and he went to the Democratic National thing in Chicago years ago. He said, I'm with the long-haired and bearded guys. He said, but those guys aren't what they used to be, So it's just interesting as a society, we're all being kind of pushed to shut the fuck up and stay in our lanes. And even when it comes to our art, our music, the stuff that comes from our soul, we're being told to mute that down and not express it anymore too. Freedom of speech used to be, one of the most important issues is to keep our freedom of speech here in the United States. And boy, it's not like that anymore, man. It's not like that anymore. You don't have to look any further than January 6th to find out how free speech is. I'm not talking about the guys that broke the rules. I'm just talking about the people that came down there and were crucified for expressing an opinion. It's a different world we're living in, and I think that, and I think it's all by design. I'm not to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but the problem with a lot of these people who are called conspiracy theorists in the last 10 years or so, turned out everything they said was right, So I think it's all by design, I really do. And I think of even a lot of the past bands, the biggest bands that we've known were by design, and they didn't just come from nowhere. I think there was a lot of bands like that. I think there was a lot of celebrities like that. And I think there is a lot of celebrities that are by design people, meaning the powers that be and the United States government designed these people to be what they are, designed these bands to be what they are. You can call me what you want, but there's a lot of evidence pointing that way if you just look. You don't have to listen to me. Just go look for yourself, and it makes you think, wow, that's really interesting that we have footage of the guitar player for Rush all the way back in his teenage years talking about being in this band. It's very interesting that we have, professional video footage of Muhammad Ali from the time he was a little kid, and supposedly he was just a nobody. Nobody knew anything about him, think there's a lot of things that are by design like that, and I'm gonna get called crazy for diving deep on this video with that. But back to, in reply to the Guitologist Rob Chapman, I tend to agree with the things you say about this, because it really is. I encourage everyone to go and buy a 100-watt head and cab and a guitar and turn everything up to 10 and just play that way. And especially if you've never done that before, and just see how it feels versus listening through your headphones or whatever it is you're doing. And I encourage everyone to, you know, get some guys together in a band in a rehearsal situation and do that a couple times a week, and see how that does for you, instead of, hey man, I wrote this drum track, I'm gonna send it to you, and you'll lay the guitars on it, and then you'll send it to this guy, and then we'll send it to this guy and mix it all together, And I think great for the guys, people who have made money that way. I think it's wonderful. I think it's definitely cool that, you don't even have to have a major label or agent and to have a #1 song in the United States. Unfortunately, your #1 song is an overprocessed piece of shit, that is handy for the moment, but not really nothing that's gonna be like we talk about Led Zeppelin now. They're not going to be talking about your song 50 years from now. Anyway, until next time, peace out. And if I don't get around to it, Merry Christmas.